I can see it in your eyes. The feedback's not as bad this time. I'm bummed because I had it set right, and then when we did Extra Life, it was off. I had to change it.
Yeah, you fucked it all up.
Anyway.
I love you.
Don't talk to me. Alright, let's see who joins in the fun. Hello, hello. So we're not... Are you watching right now?
Yes, I am.
Alright. People are texting me. It's freaking ridiculous, this whole thing that we do every week. It's 8 o'clock. The time has come.
Just talk of cabbages and kings.
And when the sea is boiling hot, and whether pigs have wings...
Oh, you know the Disney game that I play and Michaela plays? It's, where you, the Magic Kingdom and you know,
Oh, yeah, I played that for a bit.
It's a Alice in Wonderland event right now.
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Hey, Steve, what's up?
So, wait. So what you're saying is...
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Shanna.
What you're saying is they're doing Alice in Wonderland in that game?
Yeah.
Cool.
Wave to my niece and nephew, punk.
Hello, niece and nephew, Ryan and Shanna. What up? I've met you all on the reel several times. You're all awesome.
And before we get into non-sports stuff, I'd just like to say go Rams.
No one says go Rams.
They are 6-2 and have the highest scoring offense in the league.
No one cares about that. Do you care about that? Mm-mm. He doesn't care about that.
F the 49ers.
I don't care about the 49ers either. I'm just saying nobody says go Rams, especially on a geek podcast here, knucklehead.
Screw the Warriors.
I don't care about any of it.
Yes,
do you understand?
You like the Warriors.
Do you know why I care about the Warriors? Have I ever told you?
Because your dad had season tickets?
My dad has had season tickets for longer than I've been alive, just about. Or around the amount of time I've been alive, which is an indicator. Do you understand?
Steve says F the Miners. Yeah, if you guys were wondering, it is just my dulcet tones because Marshall's batteries died in his microphone. So, hello and welcome to the usual podcast. And yeah, he's a little protective over his intro.
Microphone. I can hear you. Time reset.
I know what pushes this button.
Hello and welcome to... Just kidding. All right, here we go. We're ready. Here they come. Here they come, little ones.
Hi, girls.
Hello, girls.
Hello.
Why do you have no top on? Anyway, come here. Give me hugs. Just say excuse me, Tim. Hello.
Excuse me. Oh, you're squeezing me to death.
I love you.
What are you guys doing?
We were about to start recording a podcast.
Oh.
But then two young girls came walking in. We're live right now, so the camera's over here. You could say hello to the camera if you want. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock at night.
Good night, good evening, and good day.
Well, it's not a microphone, it's a camera. So you're super close for no reason.
I know that.
Okay, good night.
Good morning, and just in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Okay, goodbye. Goodbye. Say goodnight to Tim. Say goodnight to Will.
Good night and good night.
So long, farewell,
Good
Avidas, and
night.
goodbye. To you, and you, and you, and you.
Wait, what's with the
Good
camera?
night.
The camera's over here.
Oh.
That little tiny thing is a camera. Are you done? Okay. Goodbye. Goodbye. Good night.
Get back.
I love you. Good night. Do you say good night to everybody else?
Good night and good night.
Good night.
Okay, shut the door. Oh, for God's sake. Well, we were gonna start. The chat room didn't seem to care. And all I hear is your breathing in the mic, by the way, just so you know. Just
Oh, Marshall.
okay. Kevin Smith will. All right, let's do this. Oh, for God's sake. Is that the last interruption? Well, it's just, there's some times where, like, I'm just not 100% sure what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, dog.
Okay. All right. Feedback's okay. All right, we're good. Let's, Skeen, you couldn't be more right, and hello, my friend. How you doing? Skeen, I have none of your beers in the fridge, and so we're going to say it for the third week in a row next week. Sorry, man. It was a crazy week. What's going on, Skeen? How you doing, buddy? We're going to start in a minute. So tell us things fast before we start. He's my boy.
Long-time listeners.
Long-time supporter and awesome dude.
Yes. He sent us beer from Indiana.
Yeah. That beer I offered you earlier, that was from him. Yeah. That was a lager. I don't drink lagers, but. So double check it's not my wife before we start. Nope.
Isn't that what your watch is for?
Here we go. All right, welcome to the show. Chat room, chime in whenever you want. We're going to start because we are behind on time.
Oh, you shouldn't have been.
We shouldn't have been, but then some of us have children. If you talk during the intro.
I'm not a fool. I wrap my tool.
Everybody else see what I'm dealing with? Here we go.
Blast came from the Death Star. That thing's operational.
Dr. Banner. Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Hello and welcome to episode 116 of The Usual Podcast. A podcast we discuss Star Wars: The Old Republic, the Star Wars franchise, and geek and pop culture. I'm your host, Marshall, and with me is my co-host, Will. How you doing, buddy? How you doing?
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing this fine evening?
Did it sound like I was enduring him? Because I am enduring him. But it's okay. And we're just sitting here enjoying our usual frosty beverages. What you drinking, my friend?
Actually, with dinner, I had a really nice Hoegaarden Belgian White. So that was very good. And right now I'm partaking in a crisp Diet Pepsi.
Crisp?
So
Sorry.
So fresh and so clean.
No. And I am drinking, and sharing with a friend of mine who is off mic, who happens to be in the room. An old time, if you are a long time listener of both the Flip Side and the Usual Podcast,
well, I think it's impossible to be a long time listener of the Flip Side.
Oh, that's cool. I wasn't doing
totally
a long,
just
drawn-out intro, and that's fine. My friend Tim is in the room, hanging out, drinking a beer with me, and we're drinking Ballast Point Sculpin IPA, my friend. Cheers. Welcome.
Sculpin. Welcome, Tim.
He's here in the background. We've been hanging out, and he's going to be here for a bit, and then he's going to leave, and then it's going to be fine. But, well, I'll talk about that later. I was going to talk about the Star Wars thing.
Later.
I know, I was jumping the thing. But anyway, before we get started, if you have comments or questions, you can find us at theusualpodcast.com. Email us at theusualpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. I am at Darth Pops on Twitter, and Will is at I am Will Griggs. When you see us on the, iTunes and the Google Play and all the places, give us 5 stars or positive ratings, or just give us something. It's been a hard time.
It's been a drought, if you will.
A drought?
We have a dearth of stars.
Anyway, but when you see us on the social medias, and a lot of you do this, we retweet us and share us and all that, and it's great. And we do have the timestamps in the show notes. If you're not a SWTOR fan, we don't have a ton of SWTOR this week because as of right now, I think that the servers just came up.
They just actually sent out a tweet about 5 minutes ago.
They came up in Europe. And
no,
I think
they said they're
coming up
holding
now.
off in Europe. Now they're shutting
They said
Europe
the
back
opposite.
down, and they're holding off on North
Oh,
America.
for God's sake. Okay, so we are in the midst of one of the biggest and longest maintenance updates in SWTOR history. So we'll get to that here in a bit.
Well, it's because they're moving servers.
Yeah, well, I'm just bearing the lead, my friend.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, if you're here in the chat, thank you. We got Skeen, we got Steve, we got some people. So thanks for joining us, and chime in whenever you'd like. And we'll watch it the best we can. I'm not good at that.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm not actually seeing how many people are viewing us.
I
And
think you're having more technical problems than you're letting on, but I'm about to switch into SWTOR, my friend.
I just switched to an. This is weird. Hang on a second. It says we're hosting BB Network right now.
Nope. I'm looking at us right now. Oh, for God's sake.
Told you.
It's us, dude. I'm looking at us right now. It's us, bro. Oh, for God's sake.
Told you.
It's us. Well, so people in the chat room, do you see us or do you not see us? That is the question. Oh, for God's sake.
Told you.
It's us. Well, so people in the chat room, do you see us or do you not see us? That is the question.
Told you.
There we go. Well, so people in the chat room, do you see us or do you not see us? That is the
That's
question.
weird.
You're tripping.
Told
I'm
you.
tripping. Well, so people in the chat room, do you see us or do you not see
You
us?
want to fight? I'm ready. You do not
Well, so people in the chat room, do you see us?
You want to fight? I'm ready.
You do not have to stand against me. Instead, I will share all of this with you if you will only kneel.
Yeah, thanks, Gian. Yeah, you could see us, but it was repeating because I refreshed it and then the thing went down. It was the whole thing. It's Will's fault.
It's not my fault. Although now I can see how many people are watching us. There was an issue with Twitch. I love you, Marshall.
All right, so anyway, man, we're in the Star Wars The Old Republic section of the show. We don't have a whole lot because there's a whole lot going on in the community that we're going to hear probably for next week. But let's talk about what we did in game this week, my friend. It was a huge, huge event over the weekend. What did you do?
We all got together on Saturday, around the globe, if you will, and played Extra Life, took part in Extra Life, which is the annual fundraiser to raise money for Children's Miracle Networks.
Children's Miracle Network hospitals. Everybody was able to kind of allocate where their money went, but all the teams, the idea behind it was to raise much money as possible. Some people did 12-hour marathons. Some people did 24-hour marathons. Those are what we used to do, but
We're too old now.
Well, we're all too old. But what we do now is we kind of split up as a guild. We do an event earlier in the year, and we do a 6-hour marathon. And then over this last Saturday, we did a 12-hour marathon. I streamed all the time I was on. It was broken up. I had some issues here and there, but I have like almost 4-hour streams up on the Twitch channel. So definitely check that out.
Nice. How much money did you end up raising?
I raised a good amount, man, and I was pretty stoked about it. My goal is always very, a modest goal of $100 because I'll send out emails, I'll send out tweets, and I'll hit people up on Facebook. But then, I'll raise like, $15. But today or this, maybe it's because I wait till the last minute. But on Friday before, I was like, shoot, I haven't hit up any family or friends or anything. Let me just spam everybody. So what I did was I emailed a bunch of family and friends, and then I put up on Facebook and then on Twitter, and I was actually pretty stoked. I raised my modest goal of $100. I raised almost $250.
Wow, that's really good. I usually also set a goal of $100, and I usually hit about 5 to 10. But this year was the first year I actually didn't send an email out to my family.
Okay.
It got away from me, and I ended up raising 45. No, more than that. I made
45.
No,
20,
20,
that's about right.
No, 25, and then 20 from them. I did 10, 55.
55. Nice.
So I did 55. So, hey, half my goal, which is the best I've done so far, but, the guild as a whole did much better.
No, for sure. And the guild as a whole, the goal was $2,000. And I think one of my last donations, not to toot my own horn, actually put us over the $3,000 mark.
Yeah, we hit the 2,000 mark early.
Yeah, and so before we started, we were halfway to our goal, and right now we're well over 3,000. Last I checked, we're close to 3,200.
Nice. And like Marshall said, we all get to choose which hospitals they go to. I personally chose the Seattle Children's Hospital just because my family has had personal issue with stuff going there, so that's the one I chose.
And it was a cool event overall. So we did a whole series of things. We did some Datacron runs. We did, and it wasn't really a Datacron run. It was more like, and the cool thing about our guild is people will plant tunes at different spots.
Right.
And then we all swoop in and do that and get achievements for people and basically just do parts of the game that a lot of us don't have time to do, which was pretty cool.
Exactly. The two events that I liked most was the Like a Voss event, where we killed 21 champions on the planet of Voss. But I actually won my first event at any of these Extra Life things. I won the hide and seek event, where somebody hid themselves somewhere on Tatooine, and I found them in the middle of the Dune Sea.
Yeah, it was Mox hiding himself, and I thought I was close at some point because of something he said. But bottom line is, so we had those events. Will won that event. I'm going to just try to gloss right over that.
I got a free month of SubTime.
Oh, great. Good for you. Anything else you want to say about your winning? Just kidding.
I won.
I'm just kidding. And then the other thing that was probably, I think, the highlight of the whole thing was Sorter Wood Squares. Mm-hmm. And I got a lot of flack during that event. And I love all my guildies, but I also hate them at the same time. But that was a really fun event. We had Eric Musco in the middle square.
Yep.
And a bunch of other podcasters were around the squares, and we told jokes. We answered questions. And I think that was probably the largest viewership most of us had at the time. Until the very end, when I started getting hosted by random people towards the end. It was
because they were all getting tired.
Yeah, they were all done. And when Kid Lee stopped his stream, he started hosting mine. And all of a sudden I had 20-something people. And I'm like, but I'm almost done, and I was so tired.
Did you fall asleep and die in an
No, elevator? I didn't fall asleep, but I was very, very tired. But Sorter Wood Squares was
a lot of fun.
Was definitely a highlight for sure. So if I'm sure somebody will break it up and put it up online for that section of it. But
I'm sure Jess has already done it.
Yeah, but I know on my Twitch stream I've got that moment up amongst others. But it was a ton of fun, and I was really stoked that Musco took the time to do that. It wasn't a whole lot of time. It was maybe an hour and a half at the very most.
Right.
Once we got going, but it was cool to see a dev come in and kind of do that. So
absolutely, fun. Definitely somebody part of the team that comes in and
and
shows how much they're actually putting in behind the influencer program.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else you want to say about Extra Life, dude?
No, just just because Extra Life Day is over doesn't mean you can have to stop giving. Go to unholyalliance.org and there's a link right on the front page to go to our team page, and we're still raising money for Children's Hospital. Yeah,
and that's ongoing until the end of the year, so you have plenty of time to do that. And there are links in the show notes for that for sure. And we ended up doing an operation. We did EV. We did a whole. There were so many things that we did during those 12 hours. Half of it I don't even remember, but that might have been because I was drinking the whole time. But that's neither here nor there. But I made it the whole 12 hours.
Yeah, I didn't. I fell asleep about hour 10.
Yeah.
And I was literally falling
10?
asleep.
That's generous.
9.5. I hate you.
Just kidding, dude. But I started the day with mimosas and donuts and just kind of kept going.
You just kept going.
You're
a champ.
I'm a better man than you.
Well, you're half the man I am.
Are you? Is that a height joke?
Yes.
Cool.
Among other things.
Oh, you're lucky there's a guest here. All right, so if you have nothing else to say about Extra Life, let's get into
I
the
do.
dev
I have
track.
one more thing to say.
Yep, please do.
I'm a winner. All right, so on to
Chat room, this is me taking deep breaths. Thank you for being here. Sorry you have to witness this. All right, so maintenance, October 31st. So we did have a patch. We did actually have a patch on Halloween. And the cool thing about this particular patch is this was they were talking about how they were going to up CXP rewards through some of the things that we've all been doing. Especially when they bumped it up during the bug, right? Yes, absolutely. So now the Iocath, Oricon, Makeb, Yavin 4, Black Hole Section X, CZ198, and Zios, are all their CXP rewards have been upped, and that is for the weekly missions. So I don't know if the actual dailies have been upped, but the weeklies have been upped, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's the big thing because that's what you go and do anyways.
Well, it sucks. Like you do all these quests, and then when you get to the end, all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's 100 CXP, and it's like that's crap. So, and the conquest reset now happens 6 hours later than it did previously, and the new reset time is 6 p.m. I don't know who that affects or what that means, but it doesn't actually. And this is something that came up while we were doing Extra Life was the 18-hour deal. With which side is winning in DVL.
Right.
They haven't addressed that yet. I'm just throwing that out there.
All right.
I have hiccups.
Oh, that was the other thing. The first thing that was the first time I'd ever taken part in a attack of a DVL NPC.
Oh, the DVL boss. Yeah, I'd never done it either. Actually, that was kind of cool.
It was kind of.
I'd never actually seen one.
Because my lag on my rig is a little bit more than yours. I was able to get in a couple shots at the end that I at least saw.
You saw it.
Yeah.
That's important. All right, man. So one of the things that's coming along with some of the updates is utility changes. And I'm just put a link in the show notes for it. I'm not going to run through it all. They've been talking about what they're doing with 5.6, which isn't here yet. But there's utility changes coming with that. So as we know, we're what's it called? United Forces. Yes. Is that it? So United Forces is coming up, and that is happening literally right now, and it's probably already up now that we're recording this. Obviously, by the time you hear this, it's been up.
Yeah, there was a tweet about 15 minutes before we started recording, though, that said they were holding off on the European and North America servers. So
yeah, so there's some issues. We're seeing how it shakes out, but we're not doing a play-by-play here. We're recording something that you're going to listen to like 5 days from now. So that said, one of the things that they're looking for feedback on, and I actually thought was kind of cool, is in-game items you want to return to the game. So over time, this is Eric Musco. We've received quite a few reports from players of items that used to be available in game that no longer are. We don't mean cartel items, but items that used to be available on vendors or from drops, etc.
Right, yeah.
And they're doing planning around some mission rewards coming up, and thought this might be a good opportunity to try to get some of those forgotten items back. So what they're looking for in this thread, and I have a link in the show notes, is basically some in-game items that are no longer available that you'd like to see come back, like mounts, mini pets, strongholds, decorations, etc. So definitely jump in there. Any suggestions you have, go for it. Which I think is pretty cool. They're making a concerted effort to kind of bring some of the stuff back that has been gone for a while.
Yeah, how about all the stuff from the Galactic Hunt? What was it?
The DVL thing?
No. The very first event that they're never bringing back.
Which one? Oh, the one in Nar Shaddaa?
Yes.
The one with the boxes?
Yes.
I don't remember what it's called.
It was where the species hired you to go and get stuff.
Yeah, no, I remember. Not the Gree, but it was the...
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
And we're going to get flack for that, I'm sure.
Yeah, we are.
I'll probably cut that whole part out.
I hate you.
Moving on.
All
right, so we have another maintenance, which was today. Us recording this, maintenance started at 3 a.m. our time, roughly. Yeah, 3 a.m. our time, something like that. But the bottom line is that's the big 12-hour maintenance. They're moving the servers over. And they're basically, and a lot of people were kind of freaking out. And I'm going to kind of bridge this with the next thing here, which is prudent players were like, well, I'm going to dump my, legacy banks. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's like, just calm down. Like,
chill.
If there's an issue, the issue is going to come up. But the idea behind this is not that it's a server transfer. It's not like I'm taking my tune and putting it on another server. They're just relocating all of our tunes onto a different server. Yes. So we don't have to take
a different physical computer.
Yeah, so we don't have to take the same precautions as we would. Like if I have stuff on the GTN, it should still be there, etc. Right? So we have 5.1 5.5.1 patch notes came out today. And United Forces is now live, obviously, is what they're saying. And there's 5 servers expanding or connection, etc. Don't forget, if you log in between today and the 27th, you get the Mini Mogul NM1 pet, and it's delivered to all your eligible players. And then also we get the Darth Hexid companion as well, which was the DVL thing. So
yes, and of course we'd like to thank Skeen for jumping in and let us know the Grand Acquisition Race.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I thought that was just the best name for a deal.
Yeah, well, the frustrating thing for me is
I had chat down, by the way. Otherwise, I would have said it.
Yeah, whatever.
Are you leaving, Tim? It's fine. We'll interrupt. Tim,
it's been fun.
When are you leaving town? Saturday.
I'm gonna see you tomorrow.
All right. See you tomorrow, dude.
So I'll be in touch. Bye, guys.
Later, Tim.
Glad you got to tune in to our shenanigans for a little bit. Later.
I would just like to say that was the one event that I was actually not able to play because that was the 1 month that I was not a subscriber.
Right. So, Grand Acquisitions Race, I would love to see that come back. But just the stuff that came with it, I think is important. So, let's see. So, going back to 5.5.1, which is coming up as we speak. Default character slots per server has been changed for all players. You get free to play now has 4 characters per server, preferred 12, and subscriber 24. And those are up from 2, 6, and 12. All legacy family trees have been reset, so you're going to have to figure out who's related to who.
Yeah, honestly, since the last time I reset, I haven't redone it.
I cannot even think about the last time I looked at that. Maximum amount of character slots a player can have via paid slot unlocks has been increased to 100, up from 52. So that's a big deal. And I think that makes sense because people are going to be merging all their servers or all their legacies and all that. And if you have multiple legacies combined, will cause the player's legacy storage to become full. There's access to a legacy storage overflow stash, which I think is cool. And this interface can have items removed from it, but none can be placed inside it.
Right, because it's just a temporary stopgap until you can clean out your stuff.
Exactly. Let's see. Players may now begin earning progress towards the United Forces Group Recon achievement. And this requires you to complete 3 PvE activities through Group Finder. Okay?
All right.
And now you can also... it's basically the same on PvP. So, right? And which is called United Forces Warzone Recon. Makes sense, right?
Yep.
And reminder, please review the United Forces FAQ for any questions following today's update. Ting.
Ting.
Right? So, we'll see what comes of this, dude.
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so are you stoked?
Yeah, I like the, we're going to be getting legacy credits now. And, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm honestly excited to see how the engine itself is going to be running now on the new server. Because, they're upgraded. So hopefully it'll be less lag time.
Well, we'll see. And bottom line, honestly, is we're going to have more people on every server.
Right.
And so, when you get in a spot or you queue up for something, then theoretically.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be like, oh, look, I'm only one of 2 people on CZ198 now.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man. Overall, I'm stoked. I'm very curious to see what problems come of this.
Yes, there will be some.
Yeah, and but honestly, it's going to be good either way. I think once it all shakes out, and a lot of us are coming together, which I like. People
together.
I know, and people that we have been friends with on other servers that may not have run with us because they're on other servers may be with us now. So that's kind of nice. I'm excited.
Yeah, like maybe. Are we going to be on the same server as Shek and Brian now?
No, Shadowlands is going to. I have to look. Shadowlands for some reason I think is going to the other one, but I don't know. Or all the North American servers should be together though.
There's 2 different North American servers, I think.
No, but remember they said they were just going to the east. I don't know. We're gonna cut that anyway. So Starforge, yeah. So Shadowlands. Yeah, Shadowlands is gonna go to Starforge,
right,
and we're gonna be on
Satil
Shan.
Right.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
All right. Is that enough for Swiffer?
Are you sad?
I am, because it was cool seeing Brian in.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun playing with him on Switcherword Squares. Honestly, that was pretty cool. Oh, here we go.
No, I thought it was hilarious that there was one question that was being asked and it had to do with digging, and freaking Brian in the back row was pulling out his.
Oh yeah, and he had the
shovel.
shovel. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was funny.
Yeah, that was good. All right, man. So should we get to Star Wars?
Yes.
I was raised to do one thing. But I've got nothing to fight for.
Nothing will stand in our way. I will finish what you started.
Oh, I should have spent that time setting up the first part.
You think maybe? Jeez, Marshall, what am I gonna do with you? I'm in for a new.
Well said. All right, so what we're gonna do now is, so at the top of the Star Wars show, what we decided to do this section of the show, honestly, is just to do the Jedi Awake 45-second deal. And so I don't know if any of you have seen this. We've had the picture in the show notes and the show outline. Well, not even the outline.
And seeing Luke
if you're watching Twitch, you've seen it.
Seeing Luke in
this is going to be sick. So
the cockpit.
Give me a second to get this up here.
That's what she said.
None of that. All right. So if you haven't seen this yet, if you're trying to avoid spoilers for any reason, I'm going to make this kind of bigger than it should be here. So if you're trying to avoid spoilers for The Last Jedi, tune out for 50 seconds or so. But we're going to watch this trailer and then we're going to talk about it. So here we go.
Let the past die. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
Darkness rises,
And light to meet it.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
come on! This is not going to go the way you think.
All right. So
much cool stuff.
I have a couple things. My main thing is, and we've talked about this. Obviously, they've kind of misplaced where she says, "I'm looking for help," kind of thing. Right. But one thing I noticed in this particular section, this particular trailer, and it's just a TV spot, obviously, but when he says this is not going to go the way you think, he's like on his back, on the ground, looking up at somebody.
I honestly think that's during the flashback to the Knights of Ren.
And I'm okay with that. But like, I'd like to think that maybe he's like, this is Rey doing what he did in Empire, right? Where he says, "Look, I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna save my friends. And what are you gonna do about little green dude? You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to think that he's like, look, I've been there, and this is not gonna go the way you think."
Right.
I don't know. That just stood out to me for that particular
I
thing.
can see that. You know, this is probably the fourth or fifth time I've seen this. The one thing I like that I noticed this time is, especially look in her picture.
Yeah.
When you see Luke go into the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, there's nobody sitting in the pilot or co-pilot seats.
True.
Yet when he walks in, everything turns on.
Yeah. That's badass.
Yeah,
right?
and you know it's just him like flipping the power switch.
Yeah.
With his mind.
Yeah, he's like, well, turn all this on.
It's a little thing.
I don't know, man. I like. There's the Finn in the pilot seat in that moment where he looks over, he's like, "Come on!" Like his energy, like knowing that character from The Force Awakens, that energy of just that excitement of like, we're doing this, let's go. You know, I think that's badass.
He's become a pilot.
Yeah.
He wasn't a pilot. He was a janitor.
Yeah, and that's and so every moment in his life must be just exhilarating. You
I
know?
know, well, especially now that he's pulling out the staff against
Against Phasma for sure. Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't know, and again, it's a 45-second TV spot, but what do you think about? Well, you already kind of said, but what do you think the context is of Luke walking into the Falcon at that point?
Well, I think it's just him leaving Octu. With
and like
Rey.
he walks in without her kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. All right. I just didn't know if you had any other ideas. Chat room, if you have any other spots, we're gonna move on past this here in a second. But I'm excited about this, and I guess we can talk later about our theater and all the other stuff, right?
I will like, and actually, this is something I just want to point out that the all the posters and stuff are out now, right? And it just got pointed out to me by somebody on Pinterest the other day that Luke is on both the dark and light side posters.
When I point out to you, the IMAX one was the same. Remember, he was on both sides.
Yeah.
And actually, during that trailer, I thought was interesting when it said something about the light side. It was Luke's face on the screen at the time when it, like, you know what I mean? So
But yet he's wearing black robes.
They're messing with us, and
He is.
and there's been some articles out there about how he's denied that he's going to be going to the dark side and stuff like that. But either way, it's kind of cool to see that
Whatever
they're
happens,
trying to mess
cool.
with us a little bit. So, excuse me. All right. So another story I got in here is Dave Filoni revealed Thrawn survives past events of Rogue One.
All right, I don't know what okay.
What do you think?
I like the idea. I wish he hadn't said anything, because now this tells us that not only does he survive past Rogue One, but he obviously survives past the events in Rebels. And that takes a lot,
right.
And that takes a lot of the drama of is he going to survive past Rebels?
Well, I guess that's kind of a spoiler too. But if you think about it, the way I didn't think about it that way. What I thought about it was I'm thinking about Rogue One as it is, and past Rogue One is Episode 4, right? So that means that Thrawn is alive during Episode 4 and maybe 5, maybe 6, maybe beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Because then it points out, well, where was he during the events of Rogue One? And if Tarkin had become a Grand Moff by that point, well, actually, he was the first Grand Moff.
Right.
What was Thrawn's ranking?
Well, and I'm going to bring up the EU here, quickly, is that the EU, Thrawn just kind of came in because he's been in the outer reaches for so long.
Right.
And he was doing whatever he was supposed to be doing so far out that he was outside of the circle of events. Exactly. And then he just kind of came back into the fold,
filled
right?
the void, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, does this mean, I'm going to throw this out there, does this mean we could see Grand Admiral Thrawn in an episode movie?
I honestly don't think that's going to happen.
Chips are long-lived, though,
They
too.
are. Well, what I think it is setting it up is that I think Thrawn could be a main character in whatever Filoni's next show is.
That's true. And we know there's another animated deal
Yes.
coming. So that makes sense. Any other thoughts on it?
No, that's what I think it is.
I don't know. I really want him to show up in like episode 9 or something.
Yeah, if anything, I don't think he'll show up in an episode 1. I think he'll show up in a story.
In a Star Wars story, sure. All right, man. So books. I didn't dive too much into this. Do you want to skip this one?
I think it's pretty darn cool, but...
No, it's pretty cool. Okay, so it looks like Luke Skywalker rips Star Destroyers from the sky in a new Star Wars novel. And that is the title of the article. Now,
right, well, we've seen that Anakin was able to do that as Vader, right?
No, it wasn't Anakin. This was Vader's apprentice in
Starkiller.
As the in the Force Unleashed
yes, that's
video
what it was,
game,
yes.
right? So if Luke is doing this, holy crap! The new novel is called Legends of Luke Skywalker. Details have emerged that hints at his powers grow even stronger, despite the events in the book being told from a subjective and possibly exaggerated perspective. So, I mean, take it with a grain of
Right, it's basically Star Wars folklore.
Yeah, and which I'm okay with that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I would love by the time, which is why I think Rey at some point is like, I thought it was a myth. I thought it was a myth.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you hear these things and, and humanity as we've gone through before written language and before print and obviously the internet and all that, all we knew was what people told us, right?
Right.
And this is oral culture. We're telling each other stories. And granted, it's all exaggerated and stuff. I like to think that even in a science fiction kind of world, there's still some level of oral culture going on
course,
here. You know what I mean? And so somebody's saying, okay, I heard that Luke Skywalker did this. I heard he did this. I heard he did this. I think that's kind of cool.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
He ripped 5 Star Destroyers out of the sky. I want to hear from that person's perspective how that went down.
Right,
You know, I think that'd be pretty cool. So I'm woefully behind on Star Wars novels.
So am I. I am
So,
way behind. The
here we
last
are.
one I read was the one where was it Luke was trying to push the noodles?
Oh, the noodle one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one was that? Yeah, I read that one too.
Oh, I Jedi. Was it I Jedi?
It
No,
wasn't
not I Jedi.
I
It was Jedi.
Someone in the chat tells us. Okay. Yeah, what was that one called?
Heir to the Jedi.
Heir to the Jedi. Yeah, that was okay. And I read the.
I didn't like. Remember, we didn't care for.
I read A New Dawn.
Right. We remember we didn't care for Heir to the Jedi because of the tense.
Yeah, the tense was weird. The tense was even weirder in the other one, in the Wendigo novel. But all right, so was that one? Maybe I'm getting confused. It doesn't matter. All right, so films. Last Jedi. Disney. I know you've been following this story.
Yes.
All right, so let's fill the people in. So Disney. This is the title of the article. Disney lays down the law for theaters on Star Wars: Last Jedi. So what does this even mean, dude?
Well, I don't know what their requirements are.
Oh, you don't. Okay, so the requirements are, in a nutshell, is that they need to be in the largest theater. Okay, and it needs to be in the largest theater for 4 weeks, if I remember correct. Yes, Aftermath. Thank you, Sapphire. The tense was super weird in Aftermath. You're right. I was getting that confused. Yeah, Heir of the Jedi, the tense wasn't weird. It was just, there was some other weird stuff. But I couldn't even get through Aftermath, and I didn't read the other ones. So maybe they were good, maybe they weren't, but I just couldn't deal with it. All right, so Disney has a bunch of stipulations for what needs to happen for if you're going to have The Last Jedi in your theater, right? And one of them, let me get a different article because this one's not letting me see it all for some reason. Why is it not letting me see it all? I read this article the other day.
Okay, well, I would like to say that this isn't the first time that studios have
Let me open this one.
required things from theaters. The two that
Aren't there always contracts though?
Well, yeah, but they're the two that are really. I mean, the two that are like above and beyond that are really sticking out in my mind is when Psycho came out. Theaters weren't allowed to let patrons into the screening once the film started.
Right.
Right, because the twist was so early on in the film.
Yeah. Oh, I got it here.
And then the second one was, and Steve, if you're still in the chat, you can tell me if this is right or not. But if I remember correctly, in 1993, when Jurassic Park came out, Universal required DTS to be in theaters, which is the brand new sound system that was designed for it.
Right. Okay. So that aside for a second, it says Disney's requiring 65%. Okay, so let's back up. It says their demands for the new Star Wars movie being called by theaters the most onerous they've ever seen. Disney's requiring 65% of the revenue from ticket sales from theaters, which is up from 64% for The Force Awakens and Rogue One. They're also requiring theaters play the film in their largest auditorium for at least 4 weeks, while other Disney movies are typically in that space for only 2 weeks. Okay, that's one thing.
Okay, I'd like to poke holes in that right away. That 64 and 65% may seem high, but I remember when my brother was working in theaters, that there were some movies that were requiring 90 to 100%. Yeah. That's why concession prices are so high, is because that's where theaters make their money.
Oh, and that's
not on ticket sales.
And that's what people don't understand. The concessions are where the movie theater is making money, because a lot of times they will not lose money, but break even or just around there, just to have the movie in their theater.
Right, because that all goes to the studio.
Exactly. So it goes on to say, but if a theater were to break any part of the agreement, this is where it gets weird, an increase would jump 5 points to a whopping 70%. And that means if a theater agrees to air the film on 8 screens for the first 4 weeks, but drops one of them before the time because tickets aren't selling enough to justify it, they'll be penalized. And the report states that the studio generally gets about 55% to 60% of the revenue from domestic screenings and screenings, and about 40% from overseas. So, here's the other thing. Now, these aren't the worst terms for large cities and big theater chains. But when it comes to smaller theaters and smaller markets, there's little incentive to play it. Now, what this doesn't say, and I've just recently talked to one of my inside people,
right,
a student that works in a local movie theater. He said these particular rules don't apply to independent movie theaters, and this basically goes for the AMC theaters and Regal and all that, right?
Even chains of like 2 and 3 things, like SoCal Cinemas or something like that,
right?
Which is
if you have more than one theater, right? If it's a franchise of some sort,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily a franchise, but
what did I say? What's the right word? Chain.
Yeah, chain. Multiple locations.
So what's interesting to me is I was a little worried for a bit, actually, that I was going to have to move.
Our theater still hasn't put tickets on sale yet.
Yeah, and our theater not only hasn't put the tickets up for sale, but they're not even advertising that they are going to get the movie. Like it was up on the website one day, and then I think when this broke, it went away.
Right.
And I was kind of like, wait, are we getting it or not?
I think it just happened to be bad timing.
Yeah, I agree. So I have it on good authority. We're going to get it. We're going to see it either that Thursday or that Friday. Your birthday's Friday. Yep. We're going to have a grand all time. We're going to plan a party. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and Scheme brings up a good point. Is like it being really so close to holidays, wouldn't it behoove the theater to have it on the largest auditorium anyways? It would premiere on the largest auditorium, but this is requiring it to stay there for 4 weeks.
But for a whole month, and we're talking the reason till mid-January,
right? Which is fine normally, but December Christmas tends to have a couple of major releases. For example, the trailer that we just saw for The Post, which looks phenomenal, the new Spielberg movie with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep, among a whole bunch of other really good actors, Bob Odenkirk and a whole bunch of other people. That's coming out around Christmas time too. So,
right. Yeah,
it could be as bad for tickets as Collateral Beauty was last year, but it could be Castaway, which was a huge Christmas release.
True.
In what was it, 2001 or so? 2002?
Something like that. Yeah, totally. All right, man. So, anything else on this?
No, I kind of wish Steve was still in the chat because he could have given us some inside information. But no, I completely agree. I don't think their requests are so outrageous. I just think it's because it's Disney doing it.
Right. So it looks like I'm actually not even going to mention this because it's a non-story.
Okay.
This Battlefront 2 one. But I do have a link in the show notes talking about Battlefront 2. Excuse me.
Wow.
I know. I apologize. It looks like you can play Battlefront 2 for free. There's some stipulations in there, but definitely check out the link in the show notes for that. It's actually really interesting. It looks like they're making it so... Let me see if I can find out just a little gist of it.
Well, we talked about a few episodes ago how they were making it so you could download the first Battlefront for free.
Right, but this is Battlefront 2. So if you have Xbox One or are a member of EA's subscription-based service called EA Access, you can fire up Star Wars Battlefront 2 right now. Subscribing to EA Access will only run you about $5 a month. And so if you didn't get the chance to try it out, etc. But it's something that they're kind of doing to, as of right now, because it's not coming out for another week and a half or so. So definitely check that out. And you can kind of determine if you're going to buy it from there. And honestly, I mean, I'm not going to, but it is what it is.
Right. Well, it's not our gameplay anymore, so.
No, but not only that, it's just,
one more thing.
It doesn't matter. Merchandise. Death Star tent. I'm going to go camping in this.
It sounds cool. I haven't actually looked at it yet.
Have you seen this?
I haven't. It sounds
so
cool.
freaking cool. I want to throw it in the chat for a second because I don't know if people are watching, but check this out.
That looks cool.
So this I mean, come on, right?
Okay, you know what they should make though? Okay, well, first of all, I love how the door is
The door is the deal, right?
eye, yeah, which is cool. They should make a Wampa cave.
Oh, that'd be sick. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man.
No, they should make a tauntaun tent where you sleep in the tauntaun, and the door is blood red, and the that'd be awesome.
That sounds terrifying.
It sounds awesome.
Anyway, a Star Wars tent, Death Star tent. It looks freaking cool. So
It does. This next one, we have the Star Wars: A New Hope 40th anniversary vinyl soundtrack is including a 3D Death Star hologram. This is they've done this 2 or 3 times before.
Yeah, they have.
Where they've done a Death Star and an X-wing, which is kind of cool. So it's just another cool way to keep vinyl going.
Yeah, but I mean, all the soundtracks on vinyl would be sick, dude.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it'd be cool. Anyway, what else you got?
There is a brand new NVIDIA. NVIDIA's doing new graphics cards, and they're pretty darn cool looking. If you open them up, you can if you feel like putting a picture up.
Yeah.
But there's 2 different ones, and one they basically look like
oh, that looks sick.
Like lightsabers, and they're themed as both light side and dark side. And they actually, if you look closely at them, they have the light and dark side emblems in the middle of them. But let me tell you about the what the specs are on this thing before I drop the dollar amount. All right, so here's the specs. Okay, each one will be running. Let me see it here. Okay, so they're Pascal-based GP102 GPUs, each with a 3840 CUDA cores running at 1.6 gigahertz and 12 gigs of DDR5 RAM.
So it's beefy.
Yes, running at 11.4 gigabytes per second.
Indeed.
That's 12 teraflops of processing power, which is enough to run the current crop of cutting-edge titles with the settings maxed out. Of course, you're going to pay dearly. The price? $1,200.
Yeah, that's about right.
If I was a celeb and had $1,200 to drop on something to add to my rig, I'd do it, but no.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
It's beautiful though. It looks great. All right, man. So before we get out of Star Wars, I brought this up. My daughter was in my classroom the other day after school, and I was looking up stuff for this show, and we go to Disneyland every year, as I've said multiple times. And I said to her, hey, I just saw this. It looks like The Incredibles. There's gonna be a roller coaster coming to Disney's California Adventure, and she was super stoked.
Yeah, have you actually read the article?
Yeah, I've read through it.
Okay.
I mean, it's crazy.
They're basically turning Paradise Pier, which is
Yeah.
the back area of California Adventure, into Pixar Pier. And they're basically turning into 4 different themed lands. And the Incredibles are basically taking over the roller coaster, which is right now California Screaming.
Right.
And that's going to permanently change to, I think it's going to be called the Incredicoaster, Incredible.
Something like that, yeah.
And basically, it's going to be the same track, but they're just going to be changing the colors.
The theming.
They're going to be changing the cars.
Right.
And they're going to be having some character moments throughout the ride.
Can I say something? I'm excited about the... Look, I was just in Disneyland, and I loved, and I've talked about this, the change from, Twilight Zone, Tower of Terror to Guardians of the Galaxy, Mission Breakout, and I love that, and I usually don't mind changes to Disneyland. I like Paradise Pier, mostly because it's that old California boardwalk kind of Santa Cruz thing.
I'm a big fan of California Screaming.
Yeah.
And I like the music for it and everything, so I'm a little disappointed that's changing. But as long as they like the music, if they put in like the score to Incredibles into it and everything,
sure,
that'd be cool. But what I'm kind of liking is that they're kind of compartmentalizing it. So, of course, there's already Toy Story Mania there. That area is going to be turning into the Toy Story area.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Right. And then the Mickey's Fun Wheel, which actually... Because we all forget this all changed theming before.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because originally all California based, so that was originally the Sun Wheel. Then they changed
and
it to
they
Mickey's
changed it to
Funny
Mickey's.
Wheel.
Yeah.
Well, that and all the games are all going to be themed like it's going to be a multiple thing of like a midway, right? So you're going to see Bug's Life and other things there, and then the area over the side is going to be Inside Out themed. and there's going to be a new attraction there that we don't know yet.
Well, and I support all that, but here's my thing. I'm having a hard time with it, only because for me, part of my love of California Adventure is that section of the park and the California theming. Do you know if they're going to change the wharf area?
Okay, I was actually just going to bring that up because
that's what worries me.
Well, the one problem I see about that is if you know where the pier ends, is the wharf, right? And that's where you get the
and that's like very much Cannery Row kind of.
It is
very California.
The frustrating thing about that is what's on the other side.
Right.
It goes directly into the Bugs Land and directly into Cars.
It goes into Cars Land,
which is all Pixar.
Right.
So it would be.
It wouldn't make any sense.
It wouldn't make any sense to keep the wharf there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's in their initial plans. I think it's probably stage 2.
Yeah.
But there is something they can do about those. If you know where the Little Mermaid ride is.
Sapphire actually makes the Pixar Play Parade is going to Disneyland. I didn't hear about that, and I love that parade.
I'm sure that's just temporary. I'm sure they're going to bring it back because this is all
once they're done with all the construction.
This is all going to open up. I think it's summer of next year or something.
Okay.
A lot of it's just theming different.
Sure.
Right. It's not like you're building.
But here's my thing. I don't care. Look, I'll be 100% honest with you. If the Karl Strauss beer cart is where it is currently, I don't care what changes around it. I love Cars Land on the other side. I love the wharf area. I love what's going on with. I'm not as attached to what happens with California Screaming and the other stuff. I just love the wharf area because I grew up. I didn't grow up there, but I went to college and I loved Santa Cruz and I love the boardwalk stuff.
Right.
And I love like they have the, Ghirardelli and they've got the bread company and you can get the, clam chowder. That is very much a California wharf thing. And so my concern is when they change that, are they going to change all of the food and stuff that goes along with it? Because it also matches up too with the art and wine deal that they do.
It does.
Or jazz and food thing.
But
whatever,
the thing is where the wharf is right now, there's 2 bridges that go off of it.
Agreed, yeah.
Right? So there is room for them to play with. They can get rid of the bridges, cover the water there. It's there.
Sure.
And keep the buildings where they are now and just theme it differently. Plus, you got to remember, they have some area to play with over on the other side across from the Little Mermaid where the Painted Ladies are right now.
Right.
Because all that's there right now is a bathroom.
True.
With the facade of the Painted Ladies. And I know it's the backside of the restaurant and everything there that you were talking about.
Right.
But there is areas to play over there that they can put. They can change it won't look exactly like it is now, but they can move those establishments somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I have my concerns or my reservations only because I've been attached to California Adventure after all the changes in Disneyland, and then they changed California Adventure. I've actually really enjoyed it. I've actually, in the last couple of years, found some new spots in California Adventure that I'd never been before. One is that bar, which I don't know if you knew existed, over right off of the hub down in that deal.
Oh yeah,
that 20s bar thing.
Yeah, the Cafe Circle.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, there's stuff about California Adventure that I love, and I don't mind if they change things, but there's certain things, if it's called California Adventure, that needs to be very California,
Yeah,
and that's my concern.
It still has a few things soaring over California. Well, soaring over the world now.
Well, now it's soaring over the world.
It is, but it still really does a lot to highlight the history of aircraft building in California.
Yeah.
It still has the Grizzly River Rapids run.
True. And it's got that whole side too with the Grand Californian and the
and there is a whole
stuff.
bunch of areas over there to play with. So I honestly think that they could move the wharf area over to that. Put it on the backside of because right now there's that kind of area where the ropes course thing is right now.
True. Yeah.
Minimize the ropes course a little bit. Put some stuff over there. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. All right.
Plus, you got to remember they already got rid of Bountiful Harvest like a decade ago, and
right.
changed it to Bugs Land.
That's
so,
true.
Come on.
Well, let's see how it plays out. I have more reservations because I've been really attached to California Adventure the last 8-9 years, and what they've decided to be.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're obviously changing a whole bunch of stuff because they changed Tower of Terror, they've changed Soarin' over a little bit, but
Soaring Over the World is brilliant. Sorry.
The frustrating thing is the wharf doesn't bring in as much money as what they could put there.
Well, but
but
where else do people go and eat? And that's the thing. And like, what better theming for where people eat in California is a wharf area?
No, I
you know
completely
what I mean?
agree.
And that's my thing.
But I'm saying that, you know what I mean? There's, yeah.
We debated this long enough.
We have. All right, let's move on to usual.
Yeah, let's get to the usual roundup, dude. I like when we get into things. I don't know where the bumper is. Here it is.
I can't imagine any kind of future where I'm a hero.
Well, you're not.
In the future, none of you are heroes. You're legends.
Did that just remind you how woefully behind you are?
I'm so behind on Multiverse.
I'm behind on those shows too, but that's okay. All right, man. So let's get to
let's deal with the crap first. We're not actually dealing with dead people this week, although we could bring up Fats Domino, we could bring a couple other people. But
yeah, there are people who passed this week,
right? But we got to talk about the other stuff.
All right.
Unfortunately,
so Ben Affleck is basically following Kevin Smith's lead and donating to the Weinstein movie residuals, which
we talked about last week, and we love that the idea.
Which I love, and I'm glad Ben Affleck is doing that. And just to recap, obviously Kevin Smith, stuff that he would have gotten for Weinstein properties, basically up through Dogma, right?
Yeah, basically it's Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and Dogma.
Yeah,
right?
so
the residuals he's getting are going straight to charity.
Yeah, which is great, and Affleck's doing the same thing, which I love. I'm gonna let you take this.
Yeah, so it's not just going with Weinstein. If you've noticed, there's been a lot of stuff. The big one that everyone's been talking about is Kevin Spacey, just because this has to do with multiple things. It deals with the person that's actually coming out isn't some sort of, low level. I mean, I don't want to minimize anybody else that's come out yet, but Anthony Rapp is a huge Broadway star.
Yeah,
he was in Rent. He was in Dazed and Confused. And to say that when he was underage, that Kevin Spacey made a move on him when he was 14, I think is what it was.
That's crazy.
Back in the 80s. That's just ridiculous. Right. And then in his apology, Kevin Spacey used it as an opportunity to come out, which a lot of people in the LGBT community find offensive.
Well, it's almost like people... He's almost hoping, like... I imagine him saying that is like, oh, well, I'm also... By the way, I'm gay. Like, maybe he's hoping, because usually when people come out, they say, oh, he's so brave, right. Like he's coming out.
And I think this is bad for two reasons. One, it's an affront to the LGBT community who they say we don't want to be cushioned for your fall from grace. But on the other hand, those on the far right who are going to argue that, well, look at how deviant the gay lifestyle is.
Right.
And that's being said on like InfoWars and Glenn Beck and,
sure.
and all that stuff, which is totally upsetting. So it's not only that, but it's also come out that Dustin Hoffman and Jeremy Piven have all been accused. It just shows how widespread this is, but it's affecting bottom line too, because Netflix has pulled House of Cards. This is
Did they really?
Yeah, this last season. They're not working with Kevin Spacey anymore.
Wow.
Jeremy Piven's show Wisdom of the Crowd has been put on not really hiatus, but they just took a break until that gets rectified. A whole bunch of other stuff, and then the one that just hit today that we just noticed was Jeffrey Tambor of. He was in The Hangover. He was in Arrested Development. Right now
he plays the dad in Arrested Development, which I love.
But the big thing is he's now making a huge turn in Transparent,
right?
Which is. Another thing is it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And especially in a week now, which we're seeing such huge gains with yesterday. I don't like to bring politics in here all this often, but we had the first transgender person win a state seat in Virginia by beating a bigoted homophobe.
Which I think, yeah, you're right, man. This isn't, our podcast has never been a political, we don't debate politics much. We put our jabs in here and there, but you're right. But
there's such a thing as humanity.
Well, and it's interesting that happened and all this is happening at the same time. Yeah. So we're in a topsy-turvy, just to pardon the cliche, but we're all over the map right now as a culture in the United States, and I feel like I'm really, as much as I hate these guys for what they've done or what they're accused of, and this is happening, I'm I love that people are coming up and saying, you know what, I'm gonna say what happened, and people are finally, and maybe this will be, if enough of this happens and all of it is legitimized, then maybe this kind of stuff, these guys don't feel like they're above the law, and like these things will stop happening.
Yeah, and like, you know, the old adage says light is the greatest disinfectant.
Yeah, and so I don't know. I'm one of those people, like, if you do a crappy thing, a dumb thing, you break the law, or you exploit someone or whatever, then you should be punished, and that's the thing, you know. And it's like there should be consequences for decisions, otherwise people are just going to keep doing what they're doing.
Great point, Skeen. It says, well, maybe it'll deter issues from happening in the future.
And that's the idea. And that's what I hope. And you know, as a teacher, like, I hope that, like, if I bust a kid for doing something stupid, maybe that will deter other kids from doing something stupid.
Yep.
And I hope that people make smart decisions all the time, and we don't. You know what I mean? But these power issues that have been going on for so long need to be stopped. So.
Absolutely. All right, so let's put our soapbox away and get on to the fun stuff.
Was I soapboxing?
Oh, I was a little bit.
Oh, I always soapbox.
Well, yeah, but the only reason you pull out the soapbox is so you can see as high as everybody else.
Look, I'm not a tall man, and if I can get an extra foot, shoot, I will stand on a box, sir.
I love you.
I know. All right, let's go. Real reviews, casting.
We only have one casting news today, and this just dropped yesterday, I believe. Millie Bobby Brown, who plays Eleven in Stranger Things, it looks like she's the front runner to take the female lead in the new Narnia film, The Silver Chair.
I love that story. Silver Chair is great. I also love the fact that her name is Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, but the Bobby Brown part.
And you know, Millie's probably short for Millicent, which is such a great old-timey name.
I love everything about that story.
Yeah.
I like The Silver Chair, actually, and I like the Narnia films, and with her in it, I will see it.
Cool.
I was going to see it anyway.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, this is actually going to end up coming out 8 to 9 years after the last movie came out. But the cool thing is even though in the Narnia universe, Earth time between Dawn Treader and Silver Chair is only 1 year Earth time. It's like 80 years Narnia time, which is kind of cool.
Indeed.
All right, so you take this next one.
This is weird, man. There's a possibility, I guess, that the Lord of the Rings TV series may come to Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I don't honestly think it's going to be a story telling the Lord of the Rings. It'll probably be the Silmarillion, or it'll be stuff around the world. It'll be very similar to like the spinoff that we're getting talks about for Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I imagine. What happened?
Oh, nice pull, Skeen.
What happened? Oh, I see.
Skeen says it's her prerogative.
That's funny. I got it. So, Lord of the Rings TV series may come to Amazon Prime. I like the idea of it being a kind of not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones kind of thing.
Yeah, because the world is so huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And why not go back into this world that Tolkien put out there that it was so vast, but we only really modern day have these 6 movies. You know what I mean? So I think that'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm excited about that. I hope that happens. Orville, which is one of my current favorite deals.
It's very good.
Has been renewed for a 2nd season.
Cool.
And the only reason really I put that in here was because something that Mark Bernardin said, and I know his son really likes the Orville, but he doesn't like Star Trek. And what I find interesting about this is I love Star Trek and I love the Orville, but something Bernardin said, he said, it's not as funny as it should be, and it's not as serious as it could be. Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, there's a fine line that McFarlane is going. But the funny thing is I'm not a Star Trek fan either. I mean, I like some of the movies. I was never a fan of the Shatner original Star Trek series. I didn't even watch Next Generation.
I watched Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. Those are my 2.
See, I didn't even watch this, but I love the Orville.
Yeah, and I love the Orville. And I think what's interesting about that particular show is that you get like this kind of sometimes very juvenile potty humor of Seth MacFarlane, right? But you also get a very serious and almost dystopian, especially with the I don't know if you
Krill.
watched the episode, the next one that has to do
with the baby?
with the polls. You got to watch that. You got to watch it.
I'm only one behind.
The one after the Krill was the one where people had the upvoting.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that one.
That
Actually,
was very much like that Black Mirror episode.
I just talked about that at school today.
Yeah. But long and the short of it is
Very Black Mirror.
But I like that it's taking a very, sort of comedic but serious slant on dystopian realities.
The whole episode about basically it was a whole episode about female.
Like
circumcision.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
With dealing with the first officer, or not the first officer's, the second officer's home planet.
Right. Exactly.
And I thought that was a brilliant episode.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. There's a lot more going on there, I think, than that people give credit for. So if you're not watching the Orville, definitely check it out.
Well, it's also very similar to the original Star Trek, was groundbreaking because it had the first interracial kiss on television, all this stuff.
Yeah, so I think, and McFarlane's not an idiot.
No, he's not.
He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's messing with, and I love that he is mirroring what original Star Trek did in a modern time, and throwing some freaking comedy in there, man.
Yeah, because
it's like
I said, it's not the 60s where Star Trek is dealing with race and women's lib issues as
right.
much anymore. We're dealing with LGBT issues and female
exactly.
circumcision and the importance of
and social media and all this other stuff. It's pretty
really
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
So we got one bit of gaming news that just dropped yesterday, and it looks like the creators of Pokemon Go are was it Nin?
Oh, I know what it is.
I'm drawing a blank.
Continue.
Anyways, they're working on a Harry Potter game, a AR game. And if you remember when Pokemon first came out, I called it.
We talked about it for a while.
And I said, okay, wouldn't it be awesome if you're going around trying to get like hippogriffs and stuff like that?
Right.
Turns out it's actually not going to be that much like that. It's going to be more of territorial protection and attack.
Niantic is the gaming company.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're right. Can we just move on?
Yeah.
Great.
I hate you so much.
Just kidding. All right, Universal stuff. Let's get to DCU. We got some Shazam news, dude. Zachary Levi got cast as Shazam.
Yeah, and
how do you feel about that?
This is, again, going on to the whole thing where there are multiple people that are getting cast in both DC and Marvel, because we got to remember that Zachary Levi was also one of the merry men of Thor in Dark World. So, he's crossed a genre. We're going to get the just a lot of people are doing it.
Right. This is actually really interesting. He says, this is his words. He said, honored and greatly humbled to be part of the DC universe by bringing the original Captain Marvel to life, Levi said.
Yeah.
Referring to Shazam by the character's original name before DC Comics changed it to Shazam. I beside myself with gratitude, not only for its opportunity, but also the incredible outpouring of love and support from so many of you out there in the world. Now, if you excuse me, I'll be in the gym for the rest of forever.
Yeah, he needs to bulk up a little bit.
Honestly, I couldn't imagine if I got a role and if I got a role in something like that and I was like, oh, well, I guess now I'm never going to eat anything good and I must be in the gym for all the time that I'm going to be in this movie, that's crazy.
Crazy.
So, anyway, but that's exciting. And Shazam cast Asher Angel as Billy Batson as well.
Yeah, well, the whole premise of Shazam is that Billy Batson is the kid. He puts on a ring, I think, and yells Shazam, and turns into Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That's the whole premise.
Right. So here we are.
This is big news for Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, surprising news actually. Friend
honestly,
star.
The more I think about it, the more it makes sense.
Does it? I guess it does. Friend star John Noble is also joining the cast of Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, John Noble was the older guy, the father.
Yeah,
and I think this makes sense, especially since we know that what's his name is leaving to go do Broadway.
Well, and do you think they're trying to?
No, I think he's going to be the new part of Firestorm, but I think he's going to be like a colleague of the other guy.
No, I
who's-
really like that actor. Fringe, I think, was what it was. A lot of what it was because of that particular actor.
Yes.
And his chemistry with the others. I really liked Fringe, and he was one of my favorite parts of Fringe. So, so it makes sense that they're bringing that in, considering what we talked about the other week about Homeboy leaving. So
yeah.
All right, man. Wonder Woman. What was that, me?
That's you.
Wonder Woman passes Spider-Man to become the highest-grossing superhero origin story ever. Are you surprised?
No, but well done.
Yeah, no.
I mean that means it's getting close to 500 million.
Yeah, it's a big deal. All right, we have a lot of Disney news, man.
Yeah, well, it's really two major stories with a whole bunch of little things in it.
Yeah, so let's break down the stories in two. So we've got the first one is this LA Times thing. What do you think? What's going on? Can you tell me?
Yeah, so Disney had made it where they had banned press from the LA Times to go to premieres of their films. And the reason being the LA Times had given a bad I can't remember exactly what it wasn't even a bad review of a film. It was just a bad story about Disney.
Yeah.
About the company itself. And so in response, Disney decided to not let LA Times
attend their screenings.
Exactly.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Reporters is the word I was looking for. Reporters attend their screenings and stuff, but there's such a major backlash because the LA Times is huge in LA, obviously. And,
obviously.
So what happened in response is that the LA Film Critics Society and a whole bunch of other film critics society, which are, you think, oh, well, it's just film critics societies. Well, the thing is, they do major award shows very similar to the Oscars and stuff. I mean, they said, well, we're not going to consider any movies from the Disney umbrella. And so that kind of said, oh, all right, well then, okay.
Yeah. So this kept going until Disney basically said they ended the LA Times ban after all of this backlash.
Right.
And essentially what they said was, they said we've had productive discussions with the newly installed leadership at the LA Times regarding our specific concerns. As a result, we've agreed to restore access to advanced screenings for their film critics. Here's what I read on that. You want to know what I read on that?
What?
We got hella people fired at the LA Times, and now we have the leadership we want, and now we're okay with it. Not that that's really what happened.
No,
but that's what it sounded like. Because
I think what happened was that the
newly installed leadership.
Yeah, no. What I think is that they had the LA Times to change ownerships.
Okay.
And the new leaders were the ones that gave the bad article to begin with, and Disney was in reaction to that.
Okay.
And now they're having frank discussions with them.
That makes more sense. I was like, did they just go in there and fire a bunch of people?
They didn't have a coup. No.
Because I think that'd be hilarious.
That would be hilarious.
So, next story, the big one.
Yeah, the big one, and this is big, possibly.
Big possibly. There are rumors or talks or whatever that Disney is reportedly trying to purchase 21st Century Fox.
Okay, now it's very, very important.
Not all of it.
Right. It's very important we make clear they're not trying to buy Fox.
Right.
Which doesn't mean they're not trying to buy Fox News. They're not trying to buy...
God, could you imagine?
All the News Corp
or the sports, I think.
Yeah, News Corp, which is their newspaper arm. They're not trying to buy any of the sports that they own. For example, Fox used to own the Dodgers.
Right.
It doesn't have anything to do. They're not going to be having any control over Fox Sports News, which is a huge collection of regional networks. Which out here I believe is Fox Sports West.
Right.
It's not going to include. It's basically just the filmmaking arm.
Yeah, it's just 21st Century Fox Movie Studio.
Right.
That they're trying to buy.
Exactly. And the reason why, I mean, it makes total sense why Disney wants to do this because they want to bring in the X-Men and Fantastic Four back into the Marvel fold.
Right.
Which I think makes a lot of sense. Now, there's a couple of things that are holding it up. One, the people behind Deadpool really don't want it to happen.
Yeah. Can you imagine Disney getting hold of Deadpool?
I don't want it to happen. So honestly, if there were two things that I think could help this deal along, right, is if Disney allows Fox to retain distribution rights. Okay?
I see what
Marvel
I
would
see where
become
you're
the
going
main
with this.
studio.
Yeah.
And then they would go into a distribution partnership with Fox, very similar to how there was a distribution deal with Fox with Lucasfilm before it went over to Disney. Now, the other thing is something that I saw in one of the articles regarding this is that any R-rated films from the Fox banner that are under Marvel would stay with Fox,
Right.
Because Disney doesn't do that stuff well, anyways.
True.
So that would mean Deadpool, any future X-Force films, possibly any future Wolverine films, stuff like that. But the rights to the characters would still revert back, but the production of those characters would stay with Fox.
And I think the chat room saying the same thing. Yeah, it would be awesome if they did it. But you're right. Throw the Deadpool stuff off to this, let them distribute that and not worry about that being under the Disney banner. I mean, could you imagine if Deadpool was walking around Disneyland?
Yeah, well, it's
I mean,
not
that it's gonna be. I'm being facetious.
Right.
Bit,
well,
but,
and
you know what I mean?
as Sapphire says, Disney could release it through one of its subsidiaries.
Skeen was reading my mind.
Through one of its subsidiaries, and the thing is Disney has a bad track record with that.
Yeah.
As we're now the whole Weinstein thing. I used to work for Disney, and there was major protesting when Pulp Fiction came out, because Pulp Fiction was done by Miramax,
right,
which was a Disney film. So at the time of release, not the time of production, but time of release, when Pulp Fiction was released, it was a Disney property.
Right.
So Disney really doesn't like the controversy that came with that.
Right.
So Disney really tries to definitely shy away from that stuff. And they did for decades. They've had rules like this, like anything that was PG. Didn't get released under the Buena Vista Pictures banner. It got released under Touchstone. So, which is why you got Splash and Who Framed Roger Rabbit released under Touchstone.
Exactly.
But not under the Buena Vista Pictures or Walt Disney Animation or whatever. And then like the R-rated stuff would get released through Dimension or through...
subsidiaries. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think Disney is Disney's trying to go, I think, away from that sort of...
stigma
division,
and
they're trying to just go by property.
It's
like we have Marvel, we've got Star Wars, we've got the Disney animation, we've got Pixar, all these stuff, different things, and they each have their own thing.
Right.
By trying to say, okay, well, this is going to be the cool thing is by doing this, they can say Marvel, Feige, you got it. You're doing everything.
You do you.
Kathleen Kennedy, you're doing Star Wars. You do that. Lasseter, you're in charge of Pixar and creative control. You do that. If they were to say, okay, Feige, you're doing Marvel, but only the PG and the PG-13 stuff, we're going to bring in somebody else to do the R-rated. No, it puts too many divisions of labor. And I think it would be much more prudent for them to take control of the character rights and lease them back out to Fox for Deadpool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Especially when it comes to something like Deadpool.
Absolutely. That is no way in hell coming to Disney.
That's not a Disney property. So, I don't know. Let's keep an eye on this, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something we're definitely going to be looking at over the next few months.
See how this shakes out. So, speaking of Disney, the full cast for The Lion King is out.
Really?
Anything jump out at you?
I honestly didn't look at it, but I would love it that James Earl Jones would be back from Mufasa.
Well, here we go. This is, oh, wow. So coming to theaters in 2019 is Jon Favreau directed live-action update of Disney's The Lion King, and it just revealed the full cast. And yes, shocking. James Earl Jones is there.
Nice.
Donald Glover is Simba. Beyonce is Nala.
Okay.
Chiwetel Ejiofor is Scar.
Oh, that's a good cast.
Alfred Woodard is Sarabi.
Alfred Woodard?
Yeah. You're going to love this. John Oliver is Zazu.
Oh, God, yes.
John Canny is Rafiki. Seth Rogen is Pumbaa.
I can see that.
Billy Eichner is Timon. Eric Andre is Azizi. Azizi? I don't remember these guys. These sub characters. I don't remember. Young Simba. So I don't know the other names. I'm going to leave it at that. But it's in the link in the show notes. That is pretty cool. I'm stoked that Oliver Jones is back, and Donald Glover. That's sick. It's
Yeah,
gonna be great.
I'm excited about Jones, Oliver, and Donald Glover as well. I kind of wish that they had cast Ed Helms as Timon.
Okay.
I think would have been good, but Billy Eichner should be good too.
Yeah.
And to answer Sapphire's question, yes, it's going to be very similar to Jungle Book. It's going to be voice acted.
Oh, for
under,
sure. Yeah, live action.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. So Disney streaming service, estimated worth $25 billion.
Shocker. I mean, like we just said, we've got Marvel, Star Wars, you've got
But
Indiana
that number
Jones.
is so ridiculous, dude. That's such a huge number. But if you put it in a nutshell, it will certainly come out of the gate strong. Once Netflix deal ends, it will have a variety of properties to pull from. Disney Channel, Disney, core Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars movies, and television shows will give it a large and popular catalog right from the start.
Indiana Jones, young Indiana Jones.
That's huge, man. That is absolutely huge.
Yeah, and the thing is, they've got a huge catalog, so it's fine. And this isn't the first time. When we talked about this before, but
No, we talked
there's
about it the
other stuff like Fox has their own like archives website that you can subscribe to.
Right.
And so there's stuff. It's not unheard of, and just Disney has a bigger palette of bigger things to pull from.
True. All right, man. Let's get into Marvel stuff. Marvel Cinematic Universe is the first franchise to cross $5 billion in North America. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. The other ones that have passed for I think it was battling between Bond and Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right. Daredevil. There's a teaser for season 3 that has been released. Do we want to watch that, or we?
No, I think we can wait.
But there's a link in the show notes for that. We're gonna compile some of this stuff for next time's trailer time. And speaking of, that's a good segue. This one and the next story. If you're listening now and you're not a patron of the show, we put together trailer time, which when we have a lot of trailers, of course, it's an exclusive content for the show. So what we do is we watch a bunch of trailers, we do commentary, and then I put that off into a separate file in Dropbox for our patrons. So if you're interested in watching us watch trailers and react to them, definitely become a patron of the show.
Yeah, so next week,
podcast.
Yeah, next week we'll definitely be including The Post, which is the one we talked about earlier. Suburbicon, which is the new Matt Damon movie. So
yeah, and we're gonna watch some of these teaser trailers too. We have Daredevil and then The Punisher as well,
right?
Which is in the show notes if you're anxious. But the Punisher teaser trailer is pretty sick. You gotta check that out. And that's coming out. The Punisher is next week. No, 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now.
I believe it's 2 weeks out.
So next week's a perfect time for us to watch that trailer and do that. And I could not be more excited for The Punisher. I'm ready for it, bro.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, I'm ready. Neither of us have seen Thor Ragnarok yet.
No, I'm going on Saturday. And
I'm probably going on Sunday.
I did just go see Bad Moms Christmas yesterday, though.
Oh, yeah? How was that?
Pretty damn funny. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one.
Cool. So I put this this article in here because you listened to the latest Babylon when you talked about this.
I did, yes.
And so Chris Hemsworth credits Kevin Smith with inspiring Thor Ragnarok's change in Thor's change in Ragnarok. And I love that Kevin Smith gets a random credit for something that happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that's very fitting.
Yeah, and he was like, "You know my name?"
And he says, hey, yeah. And so that's Smith's reaction, but this is Hemsworth saying, he said, hearing someone like Smith, who represents the fanboy world, was such a kick in the ass to change gears, Hemsworth told Vanity Fair. We sort of had nothing to lose. People didn't expect what we did with this time around. And in fact, before Ragnarok, it seemed Hemsworth had doubts about his place in the universe. And he said, he goes on to say, I thought maybe I might be in the first Avengers, but I never thought there'd be a second one. I didn't look that comfortable in my first 3 films. I gotta say, recently I felt more concrete, but before it always felt like any minute it might be all pulled out from under me. So it's all about changing and adapting and making that character your own, I think.
Yes.
And I think that's really what Hemsworth is crediting Smith for doing. I think that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's obviously working because Thor is making tons of money.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see it. Last thing here, man, before we get to one little thing. Netflix news. Stranger Things 2 is kind of a thing.
Yeah, it came out. I
See what I
had
did
still
there?
not had a chance to watch it, but I've seen the first season.
It's really good. My wife and I finished season 2. It's brilliant. It's very good. I know there's some flack out there, but I honestly find it just as enjoyable as the first season, if not a little bit more, because of I don't have to worry about who the characters are. I know what their motivations are, and let's get to some more fun. So I like it.
Absolutely.
But apparently it drew 15.8 million viewers.
Wow.
And there's some already season 3 talks. It looks like there's going to be a time jump. And I have a link in the show notes, and I don't want to look at it yet. But the Stranger Things producers are teasing some storylines from season 3.
Yeah, and actually, the one thing I saw this week is that they had actually already started writing season 2 before season 1 even aired.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So I don't want to dive into the season 3 storylines, at least not yet. Maybe before season 3 drops. But honestly, I really, really enjoyed season 2. It was scary at times. The characters, I felt like, were well developed. I don't want to give any spoilers, but like I said, Winona Ryder is legit. The kids,
I loved. She was one of my favorite parts of the first one.
The kids are legit. I mean, it's just a well written, well acted show. It's really easy to buy the Upside Down. You know what I mean?
Which actually in the script is called The Nether.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed it. And so did the wife, and she doesn't like scary things, so that's something.
Good.
So it was fun. Last thing here, man. Convention news.
I still can't believe this.
I still can't believe this. I'm even saying this now in early November. Early bird hotel sales are up now, right now.
Last year was March.
It was March last year. So we are quasi scrambling. I don't know. I got to figure out something because we usually buy our hotels through this hotel sale, but usually have at least one coaching stipend check in the bank, but this is crazy. So anyway, long and short of it is, if you're interested in San Diego Comic-Con, now's the time to get your member ID. Press is up. That's ending soon. I think Trey just opened. We had Returning Reg a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Open Reg, I'm guessing, is going to happen very, very soon. So
That's weird. It's like the exact opposite of last year where everything was late.
Oh, it was so late. So it's all very early this year. So anyway, we'll figure out our hotel issues here pretty quick. But if early bird hotel sales, in a nutshell, is basically you can buy non-refundable, guaranteed, not downtown, but in Mission Valley hotels.
Right, they're all on the routes of the shuttles.
Yeah, and they're all about, a 20-minute shuttle ride in and out. But yeah, again, it's way cheaper than downtown, and it's guaranteed. But the sad part is it's non-refundable.
Right.
So, anyway, I just had to throw that out there because I'm trying to figure out what we're doing already in November. I feel like I was just at Comic-Con.
I know, right? Ridiculous.
Anyway, man, anything else? Or are we done?
No, I think we're done.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to The Usual Podcast. If you have comments or questions, you can find us at theusualpodcast.com. Email us at theusualpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on Facebook, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitch, and YouTube. I'm at Darth Pops on Twitter, and Will is at Admiral Griggs. If you see us on the social medias, like us, share us, and tell your friends. And, dude, if you want to support the show, $1 or $2 an episode, patreon.com/usual podcast. Like I said earlier, you can get blooper reels of the show, trailer time, exclusive stuff, and we'll eventually send you socks and beer, which is always good.
Yeah, and again, please do not forget the children. Please go to unholyalliance.org/extralife and check that out and just throw a couple bones to the kids.
Yeah, definitely do that. And audibletrial.com/usual podcast, another way to support the show. If you don't have an an Amazon account already, definitely sign up for audibletrial.com/usual podcast, and you can get a free audiobook on us. And there's some awesome books out there, and we get $15 whenever you do it.
Yeah, and I would like to give a special shout out to Skeen, because I do know for a fact that he donated to Extra Life for both of us.
Skeen, you're amazing. You're a great human being.
Gentleman and a scholar.
He's a better man than we are.
He is a better man than both of us combined.
All right, guys. We are going to take off. And so, yeah, let's get out of here, buddy.
Yeah, make sure you guys have fun.
Have fun. We'll see you all next week.
Peace.
Yes, Oathbringer releases next week. I put it in my phone so I didn't forget, dude. It is, the 14th, I think. I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
What's Oathbringer?
That is Brandon Sanderson's third book in the Stormlight Archives, which I just can't even tell you how excited I am.
Cool.
I pre-ordered it like 6 months ago.
Cool.
Yeah, you turn your mic off, bro.
Well, actually, I hung up.
Yeah, but a 55-hour book, that's worth your money. Right, Skeen? You're my hero, buddy. All right. It is time to go move on to other things. Thank you, chat room, for being there. You guys are awesome. And until next time, support the show any way you like. Click on stuff. Like us. Or just be here next time we're here. My wires are jacked up. Too much beer. All right, Skeen. All right, we'll see y'all later. Have a good night.